hanging out with the crew of Divino 305, and we are here in the beautiful city of Doral with none other than Vice Mayor Maureen Porras. Thank you so much for always making time for us.
Of course, it's always a pleasure to be with you guys.
Now, Maureen, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to immigration and TPS, especially right now, at this current moment in time. Now, if we can maybe touch a little bit on the personal, if that's okay. What made you want to go into the space of immigration?
Well, like many people here, I'm an immigrant as well. I was born in Nicaragua, came to the U.S. at the age of 7 with my family, and I knew very early on that I wanted to help other immigrant families, other individuals that wanted an opportunity to get ahead here in the U.S. And I knew that's what I wanted to do. And that's what I've been dedicating myself to doing, helping other families, other people that really deserve a chance, that are hard workers, that are contributing to our communities, and really just need a hand up as opposed to a hand out. And I think that's what, I've been focused on doing, and I think we're doing it really well.
How are you kind of seeing this current iteration of immigration policy versus past ones?
I've actually been practicing through about 5 different administrations, and each administration brings in new policies, new ideas, new priorities. And that's really, I would say, one of the most important parts of our role, to stay on top of these changes. Many have brought different types of relief. Others have brought very strict immigration policies. And so a lot of the executive orders that have been released, a lot of the changes that have been announced are also sort of temporary in a sense, because again, any administration can come in and change them. And so we have to be able to adapt to those temporary changes. And I think that for the most part, I think all of us are looking for a real immigration reform.
Well, what is the sentiment that you're currently getting? I think, from a personal standpoint, I know my mom was freaking out, calling me. And is that the sense that you're getting from other people, or?
So I've been getting a lot of questions. I've been getting a lot of concerns. There's people that are very worried, that are confused. I think just being very clear about the changes helps. And there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of guessing that's happening, I think. There's a lot of assumptions, too, that people are making. And so what I'm telling these folks is that you need to get the correct information. Each person needs to have their case evaluated. And, that's the attorney answer. It's going to depend on each case. I think a lot of the work that we're doing is clarifying some of that confusion. I think that the priority and the enforcement of removal is something that is real, but not everyone is going to be ordered removed, or the deportation proceedings are not going to apply to everyone. And that's why I say get your case evaluated so that you can understand where you stand.
Is there sometimes confusion from the standpoint of the attorneys?
Absolutely. In fact, we're just as confused sometimes, and sometimes we don't have the answer. A lot of the times we will learn about a new policy change, and we have to tell clients, let's wait until we see how it gets applied, because we don't know. And we also have to remember there's thousands, millions of immigrants here in the U.S. And so enforcement, in order for the administration to really carry out enforcement, it's going to probably take some time. And so that's the first thing. We sometimes don't always have the answer. We have to wait to see how the policies are being applied. And sometimes we will encounter policies that are contradicting to each other. And so we sort of have to find a way to reconcile those policies, or navigate and honestly provide the best answer that we can. Sometimes we don't have an answer.
No, we have perception and we have reality, right? We see a lot of things going around on social media going viral with the way, I recently saw something going viral, and they're here picking up people on A Street. How do you combat that? How do you, from just kind of like educational standpoint, how do you kind of deal with that situation?
Yeah. So we try to educate the community, and I think that's the most important thing to do. Education is very powerful. And as part of my work as an immigration attorney, and also as part of my work as vice mayor, I have done several community events where we educate and we inform the community about what's happening, about what certain things mean. And when you hear people talk about, ICE raids and people getting picked up, I think it's important for them to know who's getting picked up, how they're doing it, so that they can also use that information to either prepare themselves, protect themselves, or also say, you know what, it could probably not apply to me. However, in order for an ICE officer to execute any sort of official document, it has to be a warrant for either a search of a place or an arrest of a person, and it has to be signed by a judge. And so we try to educate the public and the community about what that means and how to identify those documents. So I think that's the most important thing. And that's how we talk to individuals about what their rights are, in their homes, in their cars, in public, in private spaces. And I think it's been helpful. I think there's other groups that are also doing it, and we're going to try to continue to do it so that people know exactly what's happening around them.
What are some places that people can go to that are safe, maybe low cost, affordable? Because all this is very expensive, especially for a community who may not have access to funds like that. So what are some places that you can recommend that people can go to?
Yeah, so there's a lot of organizations that are doing a lot of great work. They are community-based. They're also organizations that have been accredited and recognized by the Department of Justice to provide immigration services. There is a list, and every state has those organizations, and we can share it with you. And that way, anyone that's anywhere in the U.S. can go to that list, select their state, and it's going to show them a list of all of the low-cost and pro bono immigration service providers that are, again, accredited and recognized by the Department of Justice to provide these services. And those organizations do have attorneys, paralegals, and they have what's called accredited representatives, which is basically non-attorneys that have been accredited by the Department of Justice to represent individuals at USCIS, at the Immigration Court, and those individuals have been trained and have experience working on these cases.
Lastly, what are some words of encouragement that you can share with folks right now?
Well, there's a lot of support. There's a lot of people that want to support our immigrant communities, that want to provide information, resources. There's a lot of elected officials as well that have been demonstrating their support and that have been also raising their voices, hoping to reach the administration and the folks that are in charge of the immigration laws to help protect families and individuals that are working hard here in the community, that are law-abiding and that are part of our workforce, our neighbors, and our business owners. And so I do feel encouraged when I see that. So I know that our community is not alone. We are with them, and we're going to continue being with them.
Maureen, thanks so much. We appreciate your time.
My pleasure.